All right, retirement and savings plans. First example. Christina's employer offers a 401k plan as part of her benefits package. She knows that the gross pay is $35,700 and she'll be in a 15% tax bracket. So she's considering putting in $125 each month, but she wants to know how it's going to affect her take-home pay. So, to figure out her monthly pay before contribution, she takes her annual salary and divides by 12. So when we do that, take the annual salary and divide by 12, we find out that she has a monthly gross of $29.75. Now, she's in a 15% tax bracket, so if we multiply that by 15%, 0.15, she's going to pay $446.25 in taxes every month. Okay, so if her gross monthly pay is $29.75, and they're going to take out $446.25 in taxes, her net monthly pay is $2528.75. All right, so that's what she would get if she does not contribute. Well, what happens if she does contribute? So we know that her gross monthly pay is $29.75. Now, her contribution, the $125, comes out first. Before the taxes. So if you take out the $125, her now taxable income for the month is $28.50. So to find out how much she's going to pay in taxes, we take that $28.50 and we multiply by her 15%. So she will now pay $427.50 in income taxes. So her net monthly pay, we take her $28.50, right, her taxable income, minus the $427.50 which I've taken out in taxes, and her net monthly pay will be $2422.50 if she contributes $125 a month to her 401k. So how much did her net pay change? Well, recall that before she contributed, her net pay, what she's taken home, was $2528.75. This is without the 401k. Now, with the 401k, she was bringing home $2422.50. This is with the 401k. So the difference is $106.25. This is how much less she'll take home if she contributes $125 to her 401k. So to find out how much she would save, Christina subtracts the change in her take-home pay from the amount of her contribution. So how much is she saving? I'm not sure I understand that first part. The way I interpret it, she put in $125 into her 401k, but her take-home pay is only decreased by $106.25. So the way I see it, she's saving $18.75. That's the difference in the amount she's paying in taxes, right? You could have also said, well, 15% of 125 is what she's not paying, right? Because 15% is her tax bracket, and the $125 that she's putting into her 401k is pre-taxed. So there's the comparison. Just because you're putting $125 into the 401k, that doesn't mean that's how much your take-home is going to be reduced, because it comes out pre-taxed. Okay, if she were to contribute that same amount, $125 each month for 40 years, what would her tax savings be? Well, recall that her tax savings is $18.75 per month. There are 12 months in a year, and she's going to do this for 40 years. That comes out to be $9,000. So by doing this, that's $9,000 less in taxes that she will pay because of putting money in a 401k. Now, you pay taxes on that later, but that's a different story. Okay, so now that she knows the immediate effect, she determines she's going to go ahead and do this. So she's got a 3.75% APR, and she's retiring in 40 years. So how much will she deposit in her account after 40 years? Well, if she's putting in $125 a month, 12 months in a year for 40 years, she's going to deposit $60,000. Okay? Now, how does that compare to her tax savings? Remember, her tax savings is $9,000. So she's really, I would almost say that, it's like getting another $9,000. That's almost 1/6 of what she's putting in what she's saving in taxes. So it's a big difference. Okay, now when you put this into Excel, here's your formula. You're using FV because it's a future value. You take your APR, change it to a decimal, and divide it by 12. 12 months in a year times 40 to get your number of payments. And then you've got your negative 125 because that's how much it goes in each month. Now, Excel returns the 138, 848, 77. How much interest did she earn? Well, recall that she deposited 60,000. We found that on the previous page. So anything more than what she deposited is interest. So $78,848.77 is interest. More than double of what she put in. And this is because it's over time, right? The more money you have over time, the more it's going to build and build and build. This is why you need to start saving for retirement early, because it's going to increase more over time. Okay, let's go to Greg. Greg has an annual salary of $48,000. His employer offers a 403B. His income taxes are 25% of his pay. If he enrolls in the 403B, the company requires a minimum contribution of $120 a month. Okay, what is his take-home pay before investing? Well, we take his $48,000, this is his annual, and we divide it by 12. So he's going to gross $4,000 a month, but recall, 25% of that is taxes. So he's going to pay $1,000 in taxes a month, which is very depressing. So his take-home would be his gross minus his tax. He's going to take home $300 or $3,000 a month. He is paying, this is part B, he is paying $1,000 a month in income tax. Right, that's very depressing. Okay, now, what if he makes the contribution? Okay, so remember, he grosses $4,000. Let's take away, he's going to contribute $120. That means his taxable income, this is his taxable income, is $38.80. We multiply that by 0.25, or the 25%, and his taxes are going to be $970. So if we take his $38.80, the taxable income, minus $970, his take-home is going to be $29.10. This is his take-home. And recall that before his take-home was $3,000, so this is $90 less, but he's putting in $120 into his 401k. So even though he put in $120 into his 401k, he's only bringing home $90 less. Okay, if Greg's employer matches 50% of his contribution, how much will the company contribute annually? Well, remember, Greg's putting in $120 a month. So the company's going to do half of that. So they're going to put in $60 a month. Question says, how much will they put in annually? So $60 a month, 12 months in a year. The company's going to put in $720 a year into Greg's account. How much money will be invested each year, assuming no other changes were made? Well, if Greg's putting in $120 a month for 12 months, he's putting in $1,440 a year. We just said that the company's putting in $720 a year. So together, $2,160 per year is how much is being invested into Greg's account. All right, to find the future value, we use the FV function, as we kind of already talked about a little bit. So what would we type into Excel to calculate the future value of an account if you deposit $100 a month, 6.1% interest, over 34 years? All right, so we're talking about the future value of an account. Interest rate, we change to a decimal. We divide it by 12 to make it monthly. 12 months in a year times 34 years in this retirement plan, and you're depositing $100. So when you type that into Excel, and you can try this, when you type it into Excel, you're going to see $136,030.71. So after 34 years, that's how much will be in this account. That's a nice little nest egg. What if you deposited $120 each month over 30 years with a 5% interest rate? Well, future value, interest rate divided by 12, 12 months in a year for 30 years, and you're putting in $120 a month. Again, type that into Excel, and you'll have $99,871.04. So this is something with Excel that you can kind of play with, and you can play with that last number and number of years to say, okay, if this is the interest rate I have, how long do I have to have it in to have a certain amount, or whatever. All right, let's talk about Steve. Steve's getting married in a couple months. He wants to make sure they have retirement. So he's going to deposit $200 a month 4.2% APR, 35 years. His employer is going to match 100% up to $125 a month. So, if he puts in 200, the company's not going to give him 200, up to 125. So Steve's going to put in 200, the company's going to put in 125. That means $325 a month is going to go into the account. So what do we type into Excel? Well, future value. I start with my APR as a decimal, 0.0425, divided by 12. 12 months in a year. There are 35 years in his retirement plan, and $325 a month is going in. After 35 years, Steve will have $313,321.48. Right? That's not bad. Not bad to have to draw from. How much of this was deposited by Steve? Well, remember, he's putting in $200 a month, 12 months a year, for 35 years. So he deposited $84,000 of that. Not bad. You're giving in $84,000, but you're getting $313,000 in return. That's not bad. Steve's employer put in $125 a month for 12 months for 35 years. They put in $52,500. Okay. How much profit did he make? Well, the end result was $313,321.48. Steve put in $84,000. Anything more than what he put in is profit. So when we subtract that, Steve profited $229,321.48. This is profit. Now it says, is that the same as the amount of interest? And the answer to that is no. Again, you started with this. If you take out what Steve put in, and you take out what the company put in, everything else is interest. So the interest would be $176,821.48. Now that's still a lot of interest, but profit for Steve and interest are different because the company did contribute money to this. Now let's pretend that Steve decides to work 5 more years. How much more will be in his account? Well, if we do his future value, 5% divided by 12, now we're going for 40 years at $325 a month. Excel is going to give us $409,044.11. And recall that if he had retired 5 years earlier, it would have been $313,321.48. So the difference, he would have an additional $95,722.63. This is how much more he would have if he delayed it by 5 years. But he also might be dead in 5 years, right? So, that's kind of a tricky thing of when do you retire. But there is retirement and savings.